I always like to start from the very beginning. Background on growing up, and what was life like for you?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thank you for having me again. I appreciate it. So, yeah, so growing up, I'm a Central Ohio native, so I've always lived in the area essentially. So I was like born in Clintonville at OSU Hospital, not like in Clintonville, but
Yeah.
lived there. Then grew up in Upper Arlington until I was like in fourth grade. Um, my biological dad passed away when I was like 5, so my mom remarried, and then we moved to Bexley. So kind of always been somewhere in Franklin County, mostly growing up. And then it wasn't until like later on in my life that I'm now actually in Delaware County, but still in Central Ohio for sure.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So growing up, were you always kind of like an entrepreneur at heart? Did you sell things, or were you playing sports? Kind of lead me up to going into college.
Right, absolutely. Well, I would say I've always been kind of self-sufficient and kind of somebody that just wants to try everything on her own. I was the baby of the family, the last one of several siblings. Like I said, I have kind of a blended family, so I have steps, halves, and wholes, and I'm the baby of all of them. So I think I kind of have this like ankle biter mentality, mostly because I am also short. So it's kind of just this feisty nature. I've always kind of had that, and I want to try it, I want to do it, I can do it kind of attitude. So I started working very early on. I got my training to be a babysitter. When I was probably 11 years old with the Red Cross, and babysat. I got a vendor's license when I was 14, I think, and scooped frozen lemonade for Dell's Lemonade at festivals. And I always came home with like half my body with like burnt and the other one not, just from standing in the same spot for hours. Yeah. So yeah, I've always wanted to work and like make my own money. And it's always been something that's really important to me.
Well, as the baby, I'm sure your parents just let you fend for yourselves at that point.
Oh, I know, right? They think like we actually get so much attention. Honestly, I think they were like, well, she wants to do it, so we'll just let her take care of it, right? Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Oh, no, that's awesome. So going into college, what did you end up going to college? Not going to get into the workforce?
Sure. Yeah, I did go to college. However, I didn't have a very traditional route. I went 1 year away to Kent State and did the dorm room thing, and it really wasn't for me. And so I came back to Central Ohio, and I worked and went to school. So it took me a little bit longer than like 4 years, but I did get my bachelor's. I think I finally graduated in, I think it was 2007. So about one or 2 years extra, I think it took me to finish out. But I did get my bachelor's in business with a minor in human resources. So I do have that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So then going right from college, did you go into the career with a business degree? Obviously, that's a degree that's very universal, right?
Well, so what I was doing while I was in college was working for builders. So I started out working for Rockford Homes. I think I was 19 or 20, and I was in the models on the weekends for the sales reps, just trying to get appointments. I would get a bonus if somebody that if somebody that came in that I registered ended up writing. So I was early on.
Were you a rep, or were you just kind of
a sales assistant?
Assistant, okay.
Yeah, so I was a sales assistant. I worked for a sales rep who hired me to work like on his days off and stuff, and on the weekends he was busy. So I learned a lot of stuff from that, and then I also shortly thereafter, I was asked by the corporate office at the builder I was working for to join in the back office. So they wanted me to help, process contracts, different things like that. I spent time as a design rep in the design center, helping people select colors for new construction homes. I processed paperwork, basically any error that was found in the contract, I found that and had to get it fixed. And, so I did all sorts of things within the building industry. I helped in the service department. So I worked there taking service calls after people closed. So I've seen lots of different, avenues and different parts of the building industry. And so I kind of had that as a backbone to a lot of my industry knowledge. And I got my real estate license while I was in college. I actually took each independent course, like each semester. I was like taking a course at Columbus State along with other classes that I was taking. So I, again, wasn't very traditional route. I held that license in escrow for many years with Rockford Homes, the company that I was working for at the time. They sponsored me for my license. And then it wasn't until I left the building industry in like 2013 that I actually started using my license.
So how did you get to Rockford? Did it just kind of fall in your lap?
Yeah, it was a friend of the family who had been working there. They couldn't work there any longer, and they wanted to replace that person, wanted a replacement, right? So I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it. So I kind of just, yes, working at Rockford definitely fell into my lap. It was a friend who got me into the industry. She and I are still actually in the industry together to this day. So
is real estate something that you always had an interest in, or was it just, hey, this is a college, were you viewing it as just a college job to help pay for classes, bills, things like that?
So it wasn't really real estate that got me into real estate, right? I think that was just haphazard because I was working for builders and I was gaining all this industry knowledge. But sure. I actually went to college to be a nurse, right? Because I wanted to help people. So my background and all of this, right? The whole goal of me being an agent is really just helping people. I'm, providing a service, and I really get a lot out of that. It's a kind of addicting, so to speak, helping people genuinely, right. Like I have a genuine desire to see things through people's eyes and like show them that like I can be that person for them. So I think that, I realized early on that I don't really like blood very much. So the nursing thing wasn't going to work out. So the next best thing I think was real estate, honestly.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, that was gonna be my follow-up question, is because typically, like, when I'm interviewing people, agents, there's different pivots throughout one's journey to getting into the business,
right?
And the whole point of the Tell Me More podcast is to show other agents that there, or people looking to get into the business, that there's not one direct right path
Absolutely.
to finding success into this business, right? So some people just jump right in. Some people, they have 2, 3, 4 different careers before they find real estate. And, some of those principles and practices and things that they've learned along the way are now applied into their business, which I find that, very often is.
I agree.
My follow-up question was, what took you away from the nursing, and it was just the blood, huh?
Right. It was definitely the blood. That was a problem. It wasn't going to work out. So I thought maybe being a teacher would be for me. So I spent some time thinking about being a teacher, but again, I have a drive, this entrepreneurial spirit to just like, I want more and more and more and more and more. And so I thought maybe that wouldn't be it for me, in a sense, for what I was looking for.
Sure.
I have mad respect to teachers, though. I could not do that job for sure. I definitely have to preface that. But I do think that, the route that I took in real estate also incorporates that, because I'm a mentor and I love that part of my job.
Yeah.
So I can help people and be of service like a nurse is, right? And then I can also train and mentor like an educator does.
Yeah, no, I love it. So you're doing Rockford, you're going to school, business, graduate, stay at Rockford?
I actually went to Ryan Homes for a time. Yeah. So I left
still Rockford in the builder space.
Yeah. So I left Rockford in 2008 and helped Ryan Homes actually open up the Columbus division. So they came down from Cleveland. And so I was a handful of people that started the division there. And it was somebody from Rockford who had left there and had said, hey, I just found out you left. Do you want to come here? And so it was, again, just kind of networking that got me into that position. And I did a very similar thing. I worked in the models, and then I also went to the back office. I was an office manager and kind of ran the whole office operation the first couple of years that they were here. So I've like really just dabbled in like lots of different parts of the industry. Yeah. But I think a lot of it had to do with, some fear though, too, doing that for as long as I did, not jumping into the full commission, full working for myself at, environment. So yeah.
What what made you come to the good side?
Well,
I had to throw that in there for all my builder reps.
Yes, absolutely. Right. I think it was a product of many different factors, and I was kind of, again, just pushed into it. So I had small children at this time. I was dealing with, you know, some personal issues when my kids were small. You know, I mean, to be quite honest with you, I was dealing with postpartum depression.
Yeah.
You know, and I also had an addiction to opiate pain medicine. So from a injury that I had sustained younger in life, and I think the combination of you know, having the postpartum with this prescription mixed together, like I'm sure you've heard before, was a perfect storm. Yeah. And it was just you know, it was really honestly because of that, you know, I left the industry, and my husband, Dan, he was working full time as a chef. And I said, why not? Right. Yeah. I had gotten sober, you know, went into recovery. I'm clean and totally off of that stuff for many years. But at that time I was like, you know what, I'm ready for something else. Let's do it. I have nothing to lose. Let's give it a shot. Right.
Yeah.